While most people are content merely to cut the grass, Clive ATTON, along with his friends Adrian Ringrose and Robert Hunter, form a small but select band of adrenaline junkies in what has to be one of the most bizarre forms of motorsports invented. He lives in Lockheath near Southampton in the south of England, and it's here he plans his team's forays into the madcap world of lawnmower racing.
I think what makes lawnmower racing unique is the fact there isn't any other type of racing where people race on lawnmowers.
Nowhere else would you find such a bunch of lunatics.
It's just stupid.
Less predictable than Formula One. I think it's much more interesting.
It's fun, it's accessible, relatively cheap, but don't ask the wife how much I've spent.
And probably much more painful.
Our team name is the 24-inch boys.
How we agreed, I don't think we could think of anything else.
We chose it because it sounded a bit rude, basically.
And I think it's fantastic because Clive told me to say that.
It's coincidentally the width of the lawnmower.
The history of this sport can be traced back to the early 70s, when a couple of enthusiastic beer drinkers in West Sussex were discussing the horrendously escalating costs of motorsports. Combine harvesters, bar stools, even wheelbarrows were soon passed off as being passé, which just left the lawnmower.
In lawnmower racing there are 4 categories. There's the Group 1 run behinds, basically a lawnmower with an engine and you run behind it. No one is daft enough to do that these days, but it used to be very popular. Then there's Group 2, which we race, roller-driven lawnmowers towing a seat, which you sit on. Then there's Group 3, which are lawn tractors, and Group 4, which are front-engined, bonneted lawn tractors.
We first saw it in the early 80s, and then in about 95, Clive saw an article in the Daily Telegraph.
I read this article, thought it looked good, went along, had a look.
Gave me a call, said, look, we must go and try this.
Built a lawnmower and went out there and got stuck in.
I got started in lawnmower racing because Clive needed to find a third gullible to do the 12-hour race.
The annual 12-hour race has achieved cult status purely because it's the biggest race of the year.
47 entries gathered for that very first race back in 1978. After a night of thrills and spills, the winner turned out to be no less than one of Britain's finest racing drivers ever, Sir Stirling Moss. With the legendary British racing driver gaining top honours, public interest in the new sport soared. Today, it's still as competitive as it was back then.
It's the one everybody wants to win because it's such a stupid thing to do for 12 hours.
Particularly when you're racing through the night and seeing lawnmowers with lights on, just going around a field in the middle of nowhere, can't beat it.
It's just a wizard wheeze, just great fun.
The 12-hour race is endurance, personal, mental and physical endurance.
It's the big race of the year, and to win that really gives a team and the team members a tremendous amount of kudos. You know, it's been known for them to be actually bought drinks in the pub afterwards. It's that big a deal.
I don't think anyone can understand the motivation for doing it unless you do actually do it.
My friends and family basically just kind of ignore this aspect of my life. I think they would probably prefer that it wasn't mentioned in polite society, so they basically just ignore it.
The team was very successful last year. We came second in class. It was an excellent race. It just absolutely poured with rain all night, and the track was just an absolute mud bath. And I loved it because it's a great leveller. It means the fast teams can't go very fast, and us slow coaches who just keep going, keep plugging away, can actually succeed against them.
Success came really just because the weather was so appalling, and loads of other teams just couldn't be bothered to race in the mud, and we could.
High points, well, obviously crossing the line, second in class. Low point was trying to weld what looked like a pile of mud together at about 11:30 at night in the rain. Couldn't see what I was welding, and I couldn't seem to weld it together either, which was a bit of a drag, but we did eventually get going again. But it was frustrating, and if we hadn't broken down, we may well have come first in class. The worst time of the night to be racing is probably between 3 and 5 o'clock. You feel very, very tired. You really don't want your turn to come round next, and You'd do anything basically not to get on the machine. But you have to. That's the nature of the game.
You keep yourself motivated by just thinking what it's going to be like at 8 o'clock in the morning when you go over that line and the checkered flag comes down and you can say, yes, I've done it again, and it's all over for another year.
First off, we gather at the field, we draw straws. Shortest straw, they go on the mower first. My management style is rubbish. Team tactic, I think, is to go really fast. I mean, really fast. Ideally, faster than the other people out in the field.
Clive has a very direct and basic management style. He just shouts a lot.
Remember, win. I have no people skills whatsoever. But I'll just muddle through. I'll just sort of shout more, swear a bit, and wave my arms around. And that seems to generally get the job done. Let the expert fix it. They hate me, but it gets the job done.
The tactics need to be simplistic because so is the team.
I bring to the team a certain amount of skill when it comes to bodged repairs and fabricating things with the welder at the last minute and just sort of keeping the whole plot on the move. Adrian, well, he's an independent financial advisor. He can bring along cheap insurance premiums, and he sits on the mower for half an hour at a time, and that's good enough for me, really. And Robert, well, we felt sorry for him because he's a house husband and he doesn't get out much.
Camaraderie is very important, but then we've known each other for an awful long time. Clive and Adrian and I know each other from school, so that already pre-exists. So, which is probably a good job because we'd probably fall out if we didn't know each other so well.
This year's race brings a new number, 62. But will this signal a change in their fortune?
I think the team probably stands not such a good chance this year because I'm in it.
Ian is our team mechanic this year. He was our driver last year because Robert failed to turn up. His expertise is a bit dubious. He used to have a second-hand Alfa Romeo garage, but that pretty much went bust, which rather reflects on his ability, sadly. But he's the best we could get hold of.
Clive may not think it's a strength for me being there, as they gained the best placing they've ever done when I wasn't actually competing, so we'll see what happens this year.
Race day has finally arrived, and Clive, Adrian and Ian are about to sign in. Rob hasn't yet arrived, but at least the team's mechanic is on standby to step in if required. Before practice can get underway, each mower has to pass scrutineering. With a field of more than 40 mowers racing, it's essential that each machine meets stringent safety regulations. Blades must be removed and an ignition cutout switch installed, but otherwise only minor modifications are allowed. Also, since they'll be racing through the night, working lights are mandatory.
You've broken it! The 24-inch boys are traditionally regarded as a bit of a joke, but we're a joke with a sting in the tail, because we can do rather well when we put our minds to it.
I think this might well be their year, especially if a lot of the other Group 2s dropped out. But they're a good team. They're very enthusiastic. They've certainly got a sense of humour. And someday I'm going to ask them where they got the name 24-inch boys between the three of them.
They always stand a chance. A lot depends on the weather. They've been improving over the last few years. They've got more serious about the event. And so I think, no, it isn't. No, they don't stand a cat and hell's chance.
With a couple of hours to go before the start, Clive takes his machine onto the track for a final practice session. It's a bumpy ride and leads to a problem with links on the chain, so it's all hands on deck. Meanwhile, time is ticking on, and still no Rob. Is Ian going to have to come to the rescue again?
Always ready to step in, yeah, because I love the riding and taking part in the actual racing. That's the only thing I'll miss of being the mechanic, because the boys will be out there racing around and I'll be sort of sitting here thinking, I wish I was there too. So.
Sadly for Ian, and perhaps mostly for Clive, a new-look Rob turns up, relaxed and ready for action.
I've had a haircut which has lost me several crucial ounces. I came here on my old motorbike, which has kind of prepared me for the discomfort of this evening. And providing the rest of my team get the mower sorted out in time, I'm very happy doing nothing.
As Rob soaks up the early evening rays, the pits are frantic with teams furiously fixing, banging, drilling and fine-tuning their weapons of grass destruction for optimum race readiness.
The opposition at the moment seems to be doing an awful lot of work on its mowers, so we're not too worried about the majority of them.
But one driver Clive is worried about is world champion Mike Creswell and his Night Riders team.
Yeah, drop it down a couple more percent.
Bit more?
Yeah.
I've just got this FF channelizer, it's got it hooked up to the engine, and we're just monitoring the engine vibration.
I think you have to have tactics and you need to stick to a plan, and after so many hours, if you're ahead, then you can then modify your plan.
The damp furry bit appreciation team.
As the driver's briefing takes place, one important question lingers over the 24-inch boys team. Who's going to drive first?
I'm going to suffer for the first half hour.
The longer the delay me going out, the better.
It's the calm before the storm, and the mean green grass of Sussex awaits the impending turf war.
Whoa, yeah.
Seeing grown adults spending a warm summer night making their lawnmowers go as fast as a family car is perhaps, to the outside world, slightly peculiar. The race has always been run from 8 o'clock in the evening to 8 o'clock the following morning. The simple reason being that the drivers and pit crews don't have to take time off from their normal Monday to Friday jobs. But with a full night of horticultural combat ahead, who knows how many will be fit for work on Monday.
Apparently Adrian is not feeling very well and he's been taking loads of Nurofen because his face is swelling up. Well, providing he can hold on the handlebars and sit on the mower, I really don't care. He can die just as long as it's after 8 o'clock tomorrow morning.
But there is still some goodwill around.
Thanks for your best wishes, I know you mean it, really. He doesn't mean it at all.
But the team does have a loyal following.
Come on, 62!
Come on, 62! Yes! We can do it.
Finally, the waiting is at an end.
3, 2, 1, go! 2003 is underway. Well done.
Minutes in and disaster. Clive's mower is in his pits in pieces. Having to weld repairs so early on doesn't bode well for the rest of the race.
Well, I'm not too sure what lap it was, probably about 4 or 5. Problem was a bit of welding had broken on the buggy, so get it off, re-weld it, back out again. It's the quickest we've ever had the welder out.
wasn't a very good start to the race, was it? The linkage between the seat bit and the lawnmower broke, and I ended up with the handlebars landing in my groin at high speed, and they really hurt, actually. It could be a sign of things to come, but you never know. It might be the only breakdown we have all night. Unlikely, but it's going to be a long night, I tell you. It's really rough out there. It's painful.
And with Rob taking his first session, Clive and Adrian are able to review their progress and the circuit.
Saw 68 tip over right in front of me, so that was good.
Yes!
Saw 61 broken down right on the far side, and 66, there's about 5 guys around it just over here, so...
Oh, we're not doing too badly, even if we did break down on at the 5th lap.
Looking good.
Looking good, excellent.
As the sun goes down, a sort of calm penetrates the atmosphere, punctured by the eerie hum of lawnmower engines as they soldier round and round the bumpy circuit. And as the moon signals a long night ahead, Clive and his merry bunch of rebels know that the most testing part of the race is still to come. Darkness prevails, apart from the searching headlights of these metal machines as they eat up the miles into the night. But this race is all about endurance, the stamina of the drivers and the support team, but most of all, the lawnmowers. Regular reports are printed to show the team's progress.
Yes! We're third! 4 laps behind number 25. Number 61.
Hour's time we'll be in second place. Another hour, we're in first place. And then we go home.
Yes!
Rob continues to champion the team's current success, but the track is becoming more difficult to negotiate.
It's all really rutting up really badly. I mean, to get down the straights is fine, but just when you go across the field, it's really, really bumpy. So we're having to sort of back off a little bit because the mower's just going to break if we push it hard.
24-inch boys are doing quite well. They're still running, and they're 4th, I think, at the moment. So not bad, not bad. Not in the medals though.
Ambitions for medal success have taken a back seat as Clive makes an early pit stop to investigate a strange rattle. The team swarm around the mower like bees around a honeypot, but although initially puzzled, they soon identify the problem.
Well, it wasn't so much a repair as removing a piece of the mower that had come loose, and we thought we could probably get to the end of the race without necessarily having it attached. Well, I'd like to be going a bit faster. I think we're sort of tied. Well, I think we're in 3rd place at the moment in our class. But we're having lots of little problems, and so are they. Oh, that's all right then. Yeah, maybe things aren't as bad as I thought.
The mower continues to hold together, and soon it's Rob's turn to drive again. But not for long. Another problem rears its head, and this time it's serious.
The buggy's broken and sheared off in 3 places all at once. Lots of welding.
It's their 3rd major disaster. How will Clive cope under mounting pressure? And who will he blame?
I'll give Robert a drive on my lawnmower, and he actually breaks it completely in half. It's never happened before. So, what a first for the team.
I actually blame Clive for the breakage because he was being really smug about somebody else's buggy dropping off about 10 minutes before ours did.
Team spirits start to disintegrate, just like many of the machines around them.
What did I say? I said don't break the mower.
I think it was your fault.
I didn't expect you to break it in half.
After much debate, Rob is sent on his way, and Clive is left to lick his wounds.
Definitely having to dig deep and search for the Dunkirk spirit. Yeah, it's pretty difficult actually, but it's all part of the game, isn't it?
At last, dawn breaks. Now it's a case of survival of the fittest, and more than a few fall by the wayside. But for the others, it's just a relentless path that goes on and on and on. Our three musketeers run to the aid of Clive, who's stranded on the far side of the track. Soon the mower is back in the pits, and it's time to inspect the damage. Luckily, it's just a broken chain, so it's not long before Clive resumes his last stint, to the delight of his colleagues. With less than an hour to go, there's a renewed burst of energy out there on the track, if not in the pits. It's Clive's final changeover. His race is now at an end, and boy, does he feel it.
My bottom aches a bit actually, but mainly my arms and hands, and I've got blisters now, and it's just everything's going to hurt like murder tomorrow morning. It will not be pleasant.
First past the checkered flag are SCR Racing, the lads from West Sussex. They did the most laps in the 12 hours, a staggering 373. The victors in Clive's group was his old nemesis, Mike Creswell's Night Riders. And as for the rest, well, they're just pleased to have finished. With a final spurt, Adrian proudly brings home Team 62 in 5th place.
I'm quite disappointed actually. I think we actually went quite well. A couple of incidents, but nothing too major, where we lost perhaps half an hour each time. But unfortunately, everyone else went quite well as well.
It was great, and don't listen to a word Clive says. He broke the mower more than I did.
I'm the boss. I told them what I wanted. Victory. What did they deliver? 5th place. I mean, I'm going to have to get a new team.
Right then, this is going away for another year.
What went wrong this year? Team leadership, I think.
He lived up to my expectations and surpassed them, especially when I broke the mower. He did wave his arms around and swear quite a lot.
He's just a terrible leader.
When Clive broke down early on in the race, I was really happy.
I think making smug comments about other people's misfortune is always dangerous.
The mower completely split in half as I was halfway around my first lap of that session, so that was a bit of a low point because I just knew that was in for another year's worth of stick from Clive.
Clive's decision to try and sack the team is just a pipe dream. He knows very well that he can't get any other riders, and he also knows in actual fact that both Robert and I are good.
He won't get rid of us because he won't find any other suckers to fill our places, so he's stuck with us for the future.
Well, I suppose they tried, bless them. They did their bit. Robert broke the mower. Aid broke the mower. We all broke the mower. They did their best. What can I say?
It's such good fun, and despite the results, whether it's 1st, 2nd or 4th, at the end of the day you have a fantastic time and it's a great laugh. And I think we laugh more than most.
I couldn't possibly race for anybody else. I mean, these are my friends, and I feel we've bonded possibly more than the people did in Vietnam and things like that. I think,
I have done nothing about finding anybody else, and in fact I know that there is nobody else out there. I couldn't forsake me mates. I mean, we're a team. We're the 24-inch boys.
Whoa.